Vinyl. My opinion, I think it has a lot to do with, I guess the industry has changed so much that now we're record store day. Kids are starting to come back and finding the joy of that treasure that sometimes bands would, release, press, 1,000, 5,000 or whatever copies of a certain limited edition of something. So kids want to be having maybe they want that exclusive thing, right? And of course, with every fun thing, you have those other people who try to take it for a profit and then sell it out to the general public, which with scalpers, with everything, that's business, right? So that's everywhere. But I personally believe it's just I think the artists now are really speaking their minds. Like you got Neil Young, you got people like Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age, Dave Grohl. People are very outspoken now about what records are all about, and really how flat CD is compared to the warmth and the space of the grooves that are in a vinyl. Yeah.
So would you say something more related to the actual quality of the audio?
Oh yeah, there's a huge difference. You put on a record and you listen, you can hear the spaces, the instruments spread out, whereas on an MP3, everything is just so compressed. Unfortunately, when I go out for a run or something, I have to listen to it like that. But I still prefer a vinyl over anything else. A CD was great too, because it was just something that you can take with you, right? But if I had to pick a preference, it definitely had to be, just a real thing. It's just a real thing, yeah.
There's something, I mean, even with the MP3 stuff, you can add this fake crackling and this fake hiss if you want. But even the smell, there's something about opening up the cardboard, the vinyl that you didn't have from the CD. The size of it and opening it up and having, there's a that new car smell, there's a smell to a new vinyl smell, man.
And the artwork, I mean, you can't get anything better than that. That's amazing, size and frame. And
I think it's much more physical than the digital realm that we live in these days. You can grab a vinyl record and put it on there, and then you can understand where the music is coming from when you see it coming from a vinyl record.
It's cool to have like the actual physical thing. Really is the draw, and like there's, as opposed to buying something online, like bringing it home, it's just like another level of excitement and sort of realism, sort of.
And the album art is also really cool. It's just on a much bigger scale that you can actually see it. And it's more tangible, yeah.
With vinyl, I dropped the whole vinyl thing when CDs came along, but I was somewhere in my 30s when that happened. And it was just convenient. Then I started downloading music about another 10 years later or so. I started listening to this stuff, and it's like the more I'm just not getting what I'm not feeling the music anymore. It's just not feeling the love, So I started looking at some new gear. I was at a time in my life where I could afford to buy some pretty nice equipment. So I made the mistake of going into a nice high-end record shop, or a stereo shop. And since then, I'm on about 3 different systems. I have 2 turntables going. I'm back into music, and vinyl pretty much rules. Although, having said that, digital music can be pretty good if it's high definition, or I still listen to CD, but I have very good equipment that will play it. So, but there's nothing like the feeling that you get out of the vinyl. So, I'm back. I'm 360 degrees, from where I started when I started growing up. It's an experience, to pick that up and to actually look at, the art, and it is an experience. And you can get real lazy with music, sit there and just like go through tunes and what have you. But to get up and actually play an album, there's something sort of a bit more zen-like about it, perhaps, if you will, that you actually you're getting more part of the music rather than something being very quick, instantaneous, and then flip onto the next thing. I'm sure that's good for some people, but it's why are we listening to music in the first place if it isn't maybe to go somewhere? And that's not always the case. Music's playing. I listen to a lot of radio still, and that's just background music perhaps, but.
Well, something that I hate to be a snob about sound quality, but that's a big thing. Like when you're getting a lot of CDs and like MP3s, when I'm playing these, it sounds a lot better. Like the sound quality is really it's a lot better.
I like to think that it's a mixture of things. I don't know that it's any one thing necessarily. I think it's a mix of high-profile people sort of promoting it, like Jack White, and doing things like the Ultra record that he has coming out soon, and the Record Store Day events that we have every year. I think people like tactile music as well. Like MP3s are fine for portability and for being able to store tons of songs, but when you're putting your CD into a CD player, or when you're clicking on a file on a computer, there's something sort of foreign about it, somewhat robotic maybe. It's happening inside the computer, you're not visually seeing it. Where with records, you're pulling out the actual tactile record, you're putting it on the plate, you're dropping the needle, and you see the interaction. Also, the really big artwork is kind of really neat looking, as opposed to something really small, or on an iPod screen it's like this big. And nothing wrong with digital, certainly, but I think that there's a romance to that, the big album and having a collection to kind of flip through. So I think it's a mixture of that. You'll notice there's a lot of bigger artists these days, everybody from Katy Perry to Drake. They're putting out their new record on vinyl, and it's awesome to see kids coming in and asking for that stuff.
I just love digging, so I like to be surprised. I do not come with a mind frame of my mindset on something. I just like to just try to find something, be surprised, and read the linear notes and all that type of stuff, and just get surprised.
Generally used ones.
Yeah, it tends to be used.
Again, it's a mixture. We have every age group and every breakdown you can imagine. From young kids, there's a high school across the street who are coming in to get that new Drake record on vinyl, and they might look around for something classic. And then the old-time collectors who are maybe replacing a collection they threw out in the 70s or 80s or something. The great thing about vinyl is you can collect it forever. The amount of actual physical vinyl that's out there is so much greater than the amount that's ever been digitized or put on CD. So somebody could collect vinyl for the rest of their life and never get it all. So I think there's an intriguing bit of fun there.
You got any questions?
It should be something that's important to a lot of people, and I would like it to be, but I think right now, just amongst musicians, it's probably more popular because we're the ones listening for it.
So you are a musician?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think one day it probably will become more mainstream, but for now I think it does remain in a certain circle.
Yeah, because digitally having music of much higher quality it takes up a lot more space. But, as now there's sort of more space for like on hard drives and stuff. I think it should be more readily available. Higher quality.
I'm not sure exactly. I mean, the customer breakdown's pretty diverse, like I said, and because we live in Toronto, it's such an arts-centered, music-centric city that I'm sure that the majority of people who are coming in here are musicians themselves or professional appreciators, maybe writers, more so than maybe a city that is not so entertainment-centric. But I don't know, I think it's a pretty, obviously somebody who's a musician themselves maybe has an appreciation for the quality of old records especially, and how they're mixed versus these days when things are mixed only digitally. They prefer that analog sound, but I think there are people who are probably non-musicians, like a lot of the regulars here who are, professional appreciators with massive collections. I mean, they're not necessarily in bands, and they're doing it for just the pure love of it. So.